Thank you for taking the time to view this PowerPoint presentation that I gave at the Leadership Summit in New Orleans in January of 2016. My intention is to share with you a few of the tools that may help you be more effective in the important work that you do to improve the quality of life of the people you serve. My name is Dean Whittaker. I'm a graduate of EDI and a certified economic developer with 30 years of experience at the city, county, and state level in economic development. I'm also a recovering geek whose first computer was a Radio Shack Model 1. On a Segway, along with every iPad, iPhone produced to date. For the past 25 years, I have been wondering, why do companies do what they do? By combining my experience in economic development, curiosity about corporate behavior, and my addiction to technology, I've been exploring ways to predict what companies are going to do next. After 25 years of looking, I feel we are close to being able to answer this question. Are you a gambler? Do you play the odds? How many of you bought a lottery ticket for the Powerball where the odds were 1 in 292 million? Have you been over to a casino like Harrods in New Orleans? The reality is that we are all gamblers. If we have insurance, investments, drive a car, fly an airplane, any of those things are a bet. We are all betting on the odds of or probability an event will occur or won't happen in the near future. What are some of the ways in which we can improve our odds? For example, with health insurance, can we even change our lifestyle? Can we eat better food? Can we make better food choices? Can we then improve our odds relative to the probability of maintaining a healthy life? What about the stock market? Could we do some insider trading, do more research? Could we do a better job of predicting the outcome of the stock market? Well, insider trading is one way to do that. What if you could use a tool that would allow you to predict corporate behavior? Would you benefit from knowing which companies were likely to expand or locate in your community in the next 12 to 18 months? I've been chasing a dream for a very long time, almost 40 years, before many of you were born. The dream is to be able to predict corporate behavior. Over those years, I have developed an understanding of the process by which data becomes information and is transformed into knowledge, and that knowledge is applied to an action, resulting in more data. The interesting thing about this cycle is that it is accelerating because of the advances in technology. One of those advances is predictive analytics. Using predictive analytics, we have developed an algorithm that has proven to be effective in identifying companies likely to expand or relocate new operations. In 2013, we identified 517 companies using our algorithm, of which 112 of those had done project announcements in 2014, and they did another 81 project announcements in 2015. Predictive analytic encompasses a variety of statistical techniques from modeling, machine learning, data mining, game theory that analyze current and historic facts to make predictions about future events. Another way to look at predictive analytics is by comparing data sets. By comparing the events that take place in those who have done what you want to predict with those events taking place in those who might, you can develop a correlation between the two data sets and thereby develop a predictive analytic model. Predictive analytics encompasses a variety of statistical techniques from modeling, machine learning, data mining, game theory that analyze these historic events to make predictions about future events. What is it that you would benefit from knowing ahead of time? And is there data that is plausible or correlated to that which you wish to predict? These are two important questions when thinking about predictive analytics. And also realize that it is sufficient to be correlated, not necessarily causal, to that which you wish to predict. Correlation is much less expensive to achieve in terms of the research than is causal type of data. Everything begins with change, and something has changed inside a company or within their business environment to cause them to take the next step. Changes in leadership, changes in ownership, employment, changes in products, all are major dynamics that we follow and track using our lead tracking system. Let's create a predictive analytic model using a weighted matrix where rows are companies, columns are events, and then we assign weights to each of those events to create that predictive analytic model. So think of it basically as a spreadsheet. Rows, again, rows are companies, columns are events. We weight those events based on how predictive that particular event is to a company's behavior. All of those values are calculated using an algorithm that's based on the research that we've done using a program called R, which is a statistical package, in which it looks for patterns within data. We took 40,000 company records, analyzed those, created a data set of 8,000 companies that have done 2 or more projects in the last 5 years, and then look for the pattern within the data. So those are some of the things that we're working on in terms of helping us predict corporate behavior. Remember that it's all about change, and if you go back to the project you've worked on recently, something has changed in that prospect's environment, either inside the company or within their business environment, that's caused them to have a need to talk with you about an expansion or a new location. So it could be changes in leadership, changes in ownership, merger and acquisition. It could be new financing, such as an IPO. It could be announcements about hiring plans. It could be adding more people. They could have just received a large contract or significant incentives. They also could have built new and expanded facilities recently. The best behavior prediction of the future behavior is past behavior. So if they've relocated or expanded in the past, they're likely to do it again. We look for restructuring, strategic partnerships. On the negative side, we look for bankruptcies or layoff notices. We also look at restructuring or joint ventures or large contracts. About 15 variables in all go into our predictive analytic model. Interestingly enough, there are 2 new services that can enhance a predictive analytic model, one by Atlas Advertising, the other by Development Counselors International. Both track visitors to your website and connect back to the companies using the IP address of the visitors. Very cool stuff. These elements or these visits to a website can be predictors of a recent need to visit and consider your community for a location. One of the last areas that I want to mention is looking at trends and trend analysis. We use a process called STEEP, which stands for Social, Technological, Economic, Environmental, and Political Trends. Those are the trends that we track over the 0 to 3, 3 to 5, and beyond 5 years. These are the analysis we do in order to look for what's next. Trends are generally directions in which something is developing or changing. We heard this in the State of the Profession presentation that was given by Jeff Finkel at the Leadership Summit, in which he looked at the trends within the profession. Basically, they're saying that 2016 is going to be about like 2015. 2 kinds of trends to keep in mind. One is hard trends and the other is soft trends. Hard trends are those trends which are relatively certain, meaning there are such things as demographics, some changes in aging, the seasons, many of the, well, who knows anymore with climate change, but the seasons normally follow each other. Acceleration of technology is pretty much a hard trend. These are measurable, they're tangible, they're fact-based, these are events, they're objective. These will happen or pretty close to certain to happen 99% of the time. I'd say death and taxes, they said, were the only certain things. But let's look at soft trends. Well, soft trends are those trends which shape the future. They're based on behavior and the choices we make, and therefore subject to change, such as the stock market. Trends in the stock market are a soft trend because they're based on people's decisions about a company's future potential and either buying or selling their stock. These soft trends, however, we can analyze those trends using a statistical process and project based on those statistics what might happen and what could happen in the future. And this is pretty much what predictive analytics is about. It's using these soft trends, weighting those soft trends, and then determining a probability that something is going to happen. So our thing to remember about predictive analytics is that it is probabilistic in terms of its nature. Here are a few books I recommend that you consider reading if you want to learn more about what's coming up next. The Second Machine Age is about robots, AI, and beyond. I think it's one of the best written books on where things are headed in terms of technology. Bold is about people and companies making bold moves and starting new adventures and such things as mining of asteroids or taking a trip to Mars. And so we'll see a lot of those stories in the book called Bold. Future Smart, I think, is one of the best written books I've seen about looking at and where we're headed and why and how. And it's a great way to begin to what I call future-proofing yourself, your organization, and your community. And so I'd really recommend Future Smart for those of you who can take the time to think about the future rather than the present. Two more books. The Rise of Robots scares the daylights out of me, and probably would you too, but it's the evolution of technology and where it's headed next. Some would call it singularity, which is about the merging of machine and man at some point in the future. A more optimistic view of the future is one called abundance, in which technology helps create a world of abundance where there's enough for all. So two different views of the future, both of which I think are worth your time to pick up and read or listen to as an audiobook. Well, those are my thoughts. I'd be glad to respond to any of your thoughts if you'd like to take the time to comment on our blog post, and we'll be glad to conduct a conversation and see where we go next with what we consider to be one of the best professions in the world is economic development. The work you do is very important, and it affects a lot of people's lives. We'd love to help you be more effective at your work.